Good morning. It's Sunday the 7th of September. Time about 6:55 a.m. First off, an apology. A lot of these are going to get uploaded at once. My internet is broken. I work off a dongle. It's kaput. I've given it to a friend to see if they can repair it, even as a temporary process. I've had to go out and order some new broadband from another supplier. So a lot of these might get uploaded altogether. So we will persevere and we will carry on. Last time I talked about a bit about my childhood, but about my schooling. This time, obviously, from school, leave school, get a job. So, my careers, my working life, if you like. So I left school in 1984, one A level, some O levels, CSEs, and I thought, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to start looking for a job. So I started looking around. Just let me pull this in a bit more. That's it. Started looking around for work. But as a 19-year-old, I came trapped in a system. It's a catch-22 situation. So jobs I liked, applied for them. You can't have them because you haven't got the experience. Yeah, but to get the experience, I need the job. But you can't have the job until you get the experience. But to get the experience, I need... You can see where I'm coming from. So, I spoke to one of the Human Resources Department, and they basically said it didn't actually experience in the job, it's experience in working life. You've got no experience. You're 19-year-old, been at school, where we would have been looking at 16-year-olds to take them on apprenticeships or YTS, and 19, you've got no experience. So what I did, I applied for something called Community Programme. This was a scheme set up by the government at that time in conjunction with YTS. YTS was more aimed at the 16-year-olds. Community Programme was aimed, again, people in the late teens, early 20s, into work by getting them some work experience. So I applied for this job, got it. That was in 1985. There were only year placements. The idea was you worked for this different organisations, you got the work experience, they gave you a bit of training. So you got something to put on your CV. I was placed with an organisation called Youth Action. As its name suggests, dealing with young people, teenagers. The training I got was non-existent. I was basically used as a fetch and carry man. Fetches this, carries that, type up that. Never used a typewriter in my life. Weren't even shown how to set it up, how to use it. In some respects, a bit of a waste of time in that respect. But we had meetings, and I was asked as a young person, 19-year-old at that time, just left school, had I any ideas to help the youth of Bassetlaw. So I came up with this idea of making a directory of where they could get help. So if they've got health problems, how to get in touch with a doctor, if there's drink problem in the family, social services, different organisations, youth clubs. So they could be left in school, left in youth clubs, in libraries, as a resource area. What happened was you had a page, a brief description of the organisation. So let's take Samaritans, people with depression. Brief description, what Samaritans are, here's the phone numbers, here's the address. So you could go, open it, look at it, find out if it was what they were looking for, if they're feeling depression, stress, get in touch with them. Produce this handbook. Spent quite a lot of time on it, I did. When it was presented to the heads of county councils and Bachelor Council, I was a bit shocked to see that no credit, very little credit had been given to me, even though I did the majority of the work. The credit had been given to the organisation. For somebody that's trying to build up a portfolio or whatever you want to class it, it's not a very good promotion. So that was the first thing I thought of. Now, next thing is, this is the only job I ever, from day one, went, I'm gay. We're just starting with the AIDS epidemic, if you like. So, and from my own personal experience, being at school, feeling I have to hide it, I came up with an idea of putting advertisements in papers that say we want gay men, gay women, lesbians to come in because we're going to plan a poster campaign aimed at schools and youth clubs to tell them that they're normal, they're not perverted. I had called it normality. So you have a picture of a person on a poster, the headline would be, you are normal. Next one, you are not a pervert. You are like this. You were born like this. Then at the bottom, gay and lesbian contact numbers, if you want advice or whatever. Also with the AIDS thing, also posters saying a campaign about youngsters using condoms, beware, etc. They didn't want to touch it. Didn't want to touch it with a barge pole. I think they were frightened that they'd be seen to be promoting homosexuality. Also, the head of the part of the organisation I belong to, I won't say she was homophobic, but you can tell she didn't think it was right. Christian, very fundamentally Christian. You could tell she thought it was wrong. Never said anything that could be classed as homophobic. Nothing I could get her on. Made no comments about my sexuality. Nothing. But you could tell she didn't want to touch it with a barge pole. So that was it. So yeah, I was there for a year. They were year placements, so I left in 1986. No real training, but I had something to put on my CV saying I've been in work. This was great, fantastic. Hopefully helped me to get a job. Then, late 1986, my dad went on holiday to my sisters, spent a week at my sisters. I heard he'd been rushed into hospital. That's when we found out that my dad had cancer. So I came home after about 6 months. I was running backwards and forwards to Sheffield trying to find work. Not very enthusiastic about finding work because I didn't know what the situation was with my dad. Anyway, got to middle of 1987. I was signing on. I went to sign on one day. Got collared by one of the women. We need to have a chat with you. Says, you not seem to be applying for many jobs. I says, well, I've been looking for jobs, but it's how I can fit them in. She says, why, what's wrong? So I explained about my dad having cancer, possible terminal cancer, if this new drug that he was on didn't work. The answer I got was quite shocking. Well, that's nothing to do with us. You are signing on saying you're available for work. And I went, well, how can I go to work? I've got a father at home. Some days he can't even walk as far as the kitchen. He can't lift anything heavy up because, like I said, he had started developing trouble with his bones. I says, and he's got terminal cancer. How can I take a job? Well, that's your problem. I went, it's my problem. I've got a father with terminal cancer. Well, you're signing on to say you're available for work. Now, what you're telling us, you're not available for work. I went, well, really, no. Well, we're going to stop your benefits. I went, hang on a minute. You're going to stop my benefits, so I'm going to have no money coming into the house from me. I'm looking after my father. I says, you're just putting strain on top of strain. Not our problem. Turned into a bit of a row. Luckily, somebody walked past who I knew, who turned out to work there. I knew him from church. She said, well, what's up, Tony? I says, will you get this woman out of my face before I hit her? This woman turned around and said, you can't talk to her. I says, I'm telling you, I will hit you in a minute. So this woman who knew me said, come with me, come with me. She says, I'll take over. Took the notes in. Went through and explained everything. And she says, yeah, I know your dad's been badly. She says, I didn't realise it was that badly. I says, yeah, he's got cancer. This tablets don't work. We're talking terminal cancer. He's got chest problems, so they can't put him under because they can't operate. Oh dear. She says, well, unfortunately, he can't even claim unemployment. I went, that's... And she says, shut up a minute, will you? Can't claim unemployment, but let me have a look to see if there's anything else we can do with you. So she went away, came back. Lo and behold, she found me this benefit. It actually worked out that I was better off in pocket. Only probably about £4 or £5, but I was better off in pocket. Left there quite happy, didn't have to sign on, just had to report once a month to let them know how my father was going off. So I looked after my dad till 1988 when my father passed away, which I've alluded to before in me other videos. It's alright, just checking notes. So, it was finding work. Workshop had gone into a bit of a decline, job-wise, because the pits are closed, bit of a recession, so yeah, it had gone into a bit of a decline. Tried to look for work, couldn't get anything. I thought, this is ridiculous. Eventually, in 1989, found a small part-time job. Beginning in 1989. It was to set up a large store of a countrywide hardware store, basically. Builder's merchant, however you want to class it. So we went to this empty building. It was long hours. Oh, I must say it was long hours. Like 6 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock at night. 12-hour shifts. Went to this empty store. Stuff started coming in. We had to bring it in. We had to assemble the rackings. The goods were going to appear. It was about 6 weeks' work, which was a bonus because basically the bank balance was zero. We were promised jobs. Oh, because we set up the store, we were promised jobs. Once the store opened, never appeared. We were basically slave labour just to get the store ready. It was a hook on the end of the line to make sure we worked as hard as possible. Eventually, I think there was only one person out of the place, out of us lot, that got a job there. Brought people in from outside. Bit disappointed, but ended up with some money in the bank. Later on in 1989, I saw a job advertisement which I applied. By the way, I could see applying for these jobs. In between, I was sending spec letters off, going to job centre regular, phoning people. So I weren't just applying for one job that I'm getting. I was sort of blanketing, I was sending on spec letters out, everything. Well, I got this job with a company called Lab Auto. It was basically working in the car manufacturing area. Weren't actually making cars. This company made parts for cars. What we did was basically the electrical, put the teeth in, the electrical wiring for inside cars. The wiring harnesses, if you like. Very interesting job. Started off working on the boards. What you ended up, it's a bit difficult to explain. You started on these boards. The boards were either 1.5 metre long, 3 metre long, we had some 4. When I originally started, we had some 5 metre long boards. You had wires, then you had sort of connectors. Think of a main socket. In there you have 3 wires. These were main sockets, about 10 apertures. Some harnesses had probably 1 wire, some harnesses probably had 10 wires, whatever. Plugged them in so they were connected into the connector, took them round pegs, plugged them in, another connector. When it's all wired up, you taped it up using normal insulation tape, black insulation tape. Now they were tested, electrical testing boards. So you plugged, let's say if it was a male connector into a female counterpart, small current went down the wire to the other part, created a circuit. You had a counting screen, so as soon as the circuit, it clicked over to 1. If the second wire was quite okay, it clicked over to 2, etc. You set an end target up, which if there was 300 wires would be 300. So if you had a problem, it went up to, let's say 300 wires again, and it said 200, you know the 200 wires is correct, the 201 wire is wrong somewhere. You had a list, you look down, oh yeah, it's that wire, it goes from there to there, oh, it hasn't been plugged in, it hasn't been put in, the wire's broke, whatever. So that's how I started. I ended up moving up to the part of the maintenance team, the people that dealt with these boards, if you like. That's what we called them, boards. Part of the job was maintaining them when The car model changed, changing the connectors, the dimensions, sometimes it yearly changes. Let's say one of the branches that had a connector on may have only been 200 millimetres. In the next year models it may have been 300 millimetres. So all the boards had to be changed. Very interesting job, trying to work it out, because obviously every year the specs change. One year you may not have had electric windows, the following year probably has had electric windows as a standard, so you had to modify them. So we went from that to what they're called modular boards, which are just modules that you just clicked in. So instead of having to change a complete board, you just change the module. These were programmed by computers. First time I've ever seen a computer. First time I'd even touched a computer. The software was in the computer to program these boards, but we had to, it's hard to describe, we had a special piece of software on the computer that you wrote all the details in, you put on like a flash card, put in the testing unit of the board, programmed it up. So instead of just being a counter, now you had a display screen that gave the wire number, where it went from. So there was no need for a paper checklist anymore. Like I said, first time I touched a computer, very interested in computers. After that, we also had access to the internet at that time, something very new, which I found totally amazing. So yeah, it was a good job. From that, encouraged me to get a computer myself. Got it late 1999. I knew that it was around roughly then because the software was Millennium, coming up to the Millennium. So I stayed there. Made some good friends there. We started up a group that on his days off we went to theatre trips. We just went out for the day, for the evening, go and see a show at the local theatre, Sheffield. Anyway, got to year 2000, early 2000. A new factory had opened up in Morocco. Some of our people had the opportunity to go over, train these people up, show them how to go on. We all said something's funny here. Why open a new factory when we're managing? The answer came beginning of 2001. We're closing. The car manufacturing company that we provided for wanted the harnesses at a ridiculous low price, something that we couldn't even compete with. So all the manufacturing was being moved to this new factory in Morocco. Bit of a shock for us, but that was it. So we had 4 months' work left due to the consultation periods, whatever. About a month and a half before we closed, we started getting these harnesses appearing to be what they call reworked. Basically, they were rubbish. So we did it the first week. Then the second week, all of us got together and went, hang on a minute here, these aren't our harnesses, these are the ones that's coming from Morocco. Why are we touching them? So eventually, we all stuck together, we got the bosses down, the management down, and said, we refuse to touch these. Well, we can't really refuse to touch them. I said, no. We all said, no, we're not touching them. They're not our harnesses. It's actually from the people that's going to be taking our job. You need to get in touch with Peugeot and say they need to send them back to Morocco. Well, we can't do that because it means the lines... It was Peugeot lines at Wrighton would stop. Not our problem, that. Well, it is. No, not our problem, because what's going to happen in a month's time when we're closed down? Are they going to be ringing us up at home, asking us to come in for one day to rework all these answers? Don't think so. Well, it'd be big fines for the parent company. So what? What's that got to do with us? Probably if they get fined £100,000, they'll kick some ass, kick them out, and we'll keep our job. Anyway, the boss saw a bit of common sense and decided to stick by us. Rang up the parent company. No, they refused to touch him. Rang up Peugeot. Peugeot went ballistic. But we turned around and said, no, not touching them. Not our harnesses. This is the quality of the harnesses you're going to be getting in a month's time when we're closed down. It's up to you to take it up with Morocco. So that was it. Closed down. Last day, quite surprised. I was on night shift at that week. Quite surprised nobody came in to see us, shake his hands or whatever. I did end up with a bit of a bonus because the company provided us really expensive tools to do this maintenance job. Nobody came in to collect them. What do we do with them? Somebody said, well, take them home. They can't be asked to come in to sign off on these tools. Take them. Took them. Nobody said out. Nobody ever got in touch. I know the last day we had to go in and pick his cheque, so it was June the 1st. Only reason I know this is because my sister got married on June the 2nd, and it was the day before my sister got married. So that was that job. Worked out with a decent redundancy. After all, been there 12 years. So that was me life in the automotive industry. Decided to take a month off, have a bit of a holiday. So I started looking round for another job. Like I said, my sister got married, as I've said before, and I ended up with another dog. Beautiful dog, Alsatian purebred. Short-haired Alsatian, 3-year-old. What happened was when my sister got married, new husband, who was a widower, had this Alsatian. I had 2 or 3 dogs. My sister didn't want another dog. She got degenerative discs in her back and stuff like that. I was asked to look after this dog for a couple of weeks until they found a home for it. Came for 2 weeks. Ended up being here 9-10 years. Beautiful dog. Not nasty or anything like that. Didn't know how to play or anything like that. I had to teach it to play because it had been locked up in a yard. Yeah, Storm. Can even picture her now. She was a dog that did die at home, and she died in my arms. That was 2010, late 2010. So it would have been 9 years. Just over 9 years. Anyway, back to work. Found a temporary job back end of 2001 with a company called Bachelors. What they did was long-term food, if you like. They do OXO cubes, cooking sauces, super noodles. Used to do dried peas. I don't know if they still do dried peas. That type of food. So food with at least 4 or 5 months shelf life on it. Went there for 8 week contract. Went there for 8 weeks, left 18 months later. Well, 17 months, 3 weeks. Why such an odd time? Because they had a rule, if you were there 18 months, they had to take you on the books permanently. So they got rid of us a week before the 18 month. Pity, brilliant job, brilliant pay, one of the best pays in workshop. I started off in the OXO department, moved to the super noodle department. My adventure there was when I went for my medical. You had to have a medical. Checked out, passed all the interviews and stuff like that. This was my last check. The reason it was so memorable is because I'd just gone in, we just started. They, I think she'd asked for a urine sample to do a protein sugar check, etc. I was sat there waiting. Yeah, that's fine. You need to check your blood pressure. About to check it when we heard on the news. We get news from New York that a plane seems to have hit one of the Twin Towers. We sat there and went, what? Came on the radio again, plane. Obviously, September the 11th, 2001. We sat there listening to that. SME Medical should have only lasted half an hour. I was there about an hour and a half because we were listening to the news. You know, sort of about 20 minutes, was it 20 minutes later? We thought, oh, a plane's run out of fuel, coming into the airport, whatever, hit tower. Then of course the news came, that second plane it hit. And we went, well, some God is here. So we just basically sat there listening to the radio. In fact, I don't think we ever completed me medical. Didn't do an eye test, didn't do a hearing test. So we didn't even complete the medical. I knew at that stage it was going to be a big thing, this Twin Towers. But that was that. So I left there 2003. 2003, in the boat again, blanketing letters, applying for jobs. And I got a job at Solway, where I'm at the moment, Solway Foods. Where Bachelor's was long-term foods, Solway's short-term foods, fresh foods, food to go, sandwiches. Started as normal operator in the dispatch area. Been there about 4 or 5 months. Went in to do standing charge, and probably a year later, a couple of years later, ended up as a full-time charge hand. Do I enjoy the job? I enjoyed the job. I enjoyed the people. Working with people. Sometimes I hate the job, but I think that's every job people have. While I'm there, we have had to do some training when we've been a charge hand. The first one's IOSH, which stands for Institute of Occupational Safety and Health and Safety. Very interesting. I've actually expressed the opinion, if you want people to take this further, I'd be very interested in it. International recognised qualification. Take it to any industry, because even though I work in the food industry, the rules relating to IOSH work in any other industry. I'm also a first aider. Been a first aider now for 10 year. I'm actually due to renew it this year. Just want to have a quick talk about first aid. I'm surprised not many more people do it, even for home use. Very useful, very rewarding, especially if you're doing it in workplace or anything like that. Also very useful for the man on the street. And the only way I can emphasise this is by giving an example. It was the second year it was the second time I did my first aiding certificate. About 2 months after I passed it again. I was downtown, local town centre, local shop, in a shop, just looking around, picking up bits and bobs, when a gentleman in front of me collapsed. Now we're not talking that collapsing, we are talking timber collapse. Went backwards, cracked his head, blood everywhere, really nasty cut on the back of his head. I was about a yard away from him, rushed over. Are you alright? Could get no response. One of the assistants ran over, explained who I was. I'm a first aider at work. He says, well, we'll go and get the shots first. I said, that's fine enough, but I'm alright. Checked for any obvious signs of injury, ran back, found the cut on the back of his head, asked for some tissue. They basically somebody pulled toilet roll or whatever off the shelf, banged it on the back of his head. Managed to stem the flow of blood a lot. So laid on his back, I said, well, I'm going to have to put him into a recovery position. I said, I'm a bit concerned with him hitting his head. I said, so we need 2 or 3 people to barrel roll him. What they call barrel rolling, where you try to keep the body straight as possible. So now, I've got him laid on his side, people are holding him, his head's literally on my lap. Try to keep his neck straight as possible. Never been very good at taking pulses. It's not really part of first aiders, but I can find a pulse in the wrist and in the neck. It's that side. So I'm there chatting to their first aider. She's gone. She's phoned for an ambulance. They said they're sending a paramedic out straight away, and the ambulance will be within a couple of minutes. I'm stood there chatting away to the woman. Yeah, I've done first aid, don't worry, blah, blah, blah. Checking his breathing, and all of a sudden I went, stop breathing. Looked at his chest not moving. Went to the wrist for the pulse, couldn't feel the pulse. Went to the neck, couldn't feel the pulse in the neck. The reason I checked in the neck is because that's going to be the last place the pulse will disappear from. Theory is that the brain will shut down other parts of the body, but it will always keep the blood flow to the brain as being the major organ in the body. No pulse. I had to put him back on his back, started CPR. Told the shop's first aider, get onto the phone, tell him straight he's in cardiac arrest, doing CPR. So I started CPR. 10 minutes later, the ambulance came. I heard beep, 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 beep. Ambulance turned up, paramedic turned up, doing CPR. They asked me to move back for a bit. He had a t-shirt, straight down with a pair of scissors, wham, opened him up, put pads on. I carried on doing CPR while they connected all the connectors up into the box. Also, they shouted clear, defibrillated. Machine went like that. Nothing happened. carried on doing CPR. Machine charged, clear, and again. Started CPR again because he tanked up. Third time, it didn't take. Fourth time, it did. And it was weird. You see them in films, they go bang, 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 straight line, and beep, 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 and it starts going fast. And it did actually do that. I was quite surprised. I actually said afterwards, I only thought that happened in films. They went, no, it happens in real life, actually. So we got a heartbeat. There was the paramedic there with the mask and I don't know what you call them, like the balloon type thing, giving oxygen. With my help, we transferred him to a trolley, took him out for the ambulance, took him away. So there's me and this paramedic there, chatting away. I'm a bit shaky. I thought, I'll have a fag. Still smoked at that time. Lit up the fag and it was just like somebody with a baseball bat or cricket bat cracked me across the back of the legs. I crumpled. Paramedics there, you alright? And I went, yeah, fine. Got up, shaking like a leaf. So I said, come on, let's go back inside the shop. Went back inside the shop, talked to the assistants that had seen us. Have you got a restroom? He just needs to sit down a bit. It's a bit shaky. Went in, sat down. One of the assistants said, I'll get you a cup of tea. Put tons of sugar. I said, don't like sugar. I said, paramedic says, you've got to have some sugar. Hated the tea, too sweet. And he sort of said, well, obviously you're in shock. Bright spark here, done first aid. Oh, well, I'm not bleeding anywhere. Medical shock is, loss of blood. No. You're in shock, a bit of emotional thing. So yeah, and I was basically told if I hadn't been there, the bloke wouldn't have survived. He'd have been dead. So like I said, I can't understand why people don't do more first aiding, take some courses or whatever. Well, just touch on this, but like I said, I'm going to touch on this later on. The first job, I came out straight as gay. Other jobs, all because of reaction, I decided not to come out. I wouldn't lie. Always said, I wouldn't lie. If somebody asked me, I would tell the truth. Lab auto, bachelors, nobody ever asked me. Solway, it'd be 2010. So it'd be 2011. Started going with an organisation called CAF Moss. Come a bit more onto them later on in one of the follow-ups. 2-weekend trip at Blackpool. People there at work started saying, yeah, some of them that had been like, oh yeah, you're going around the flying handbag, the Mardi Gras, famous gay bars. Went on for a few days this, and I went, what are you asking? Well, no. I says, listen, ask the question. What do you mean? I says, if you want to know, ask the question. Anyway, one of them turned around and said, are you gay? And I went, yes. The look on their face was immediate shock. So, I came out at work. I always said I would never lie. So, that's my working life. I've had 1, 2, 3, 4 jobs. Done some voluntary work in between, I belonged to a club, amateur radio club. When we built a club room, went down there helping them to do some building work. When it was open, worked behind the bar, totally non-paid. helped out with Meals on Wheels through the church. So I've done some voluntary work on top. So at the moment I'm employed, full-time employment, working at Solway Foods, making sandwiches and wraps for a major supermarket chain. So yeah, not the most glamorous job in the world, but it pays the bills. It pays for my entertainment and my fun. So that's just a quick overall of my working life. So, thanks for listening. Speak to you again soon. Good afternoon. It is 1:05 on the 7th of September. I want to do a bit of a postscript to my working video. Something I forgot to mention, and it's quite funny actually. It's with regards to Lab Auto. Like I says, we were finished. We left, the factory closed down. Postscript is, like, I think about 4 years later, it was announced that the people who we provided harnesses to, their factory was going to get closed and production was going to move abroad. They weren't very happy. A lot of news bulletins decimating English production and blah 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 headlines. Anyway, in England we have talk shows. I know other countries do. We had talk shows, and you had this union rep from the factory on giving a talk, basically saying, it's disgusting, this government's destroying British manufacturing companies, bad time, we've got us act together. Anyway, people were asked to ring in, give their opinion. Who rang in? Rang in, and I was asked basically, oh yes, you want to discuss it and give your support. I went, actually no, I don't want to give me support, which quite shocked the woman on reception. I says, put me on air and you'll find out why. So I was put through. Introduced myself, I come from Worksop. And he says, well, the interviewer, I forget who it was, says, what's your opinion? I says, well, actually my opinion is what goes around comes around. And the bloke says, what do you mean by that? I says, well, we actually used to provide wiring looms for Peugeot, but they wanted to make more profit, so our production was moved abroad. I says, now, part of the negotiations with Peugeot, with this firm was, quite simply, well, you pay 4 or 5 weeks bonus every year. If they took a week less, we could stop open. But they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to lose any money. I says, which I admitted on air, I can understand. I says, but now they're closing down. He's asking people to go on strike, show their support, which mine wasn't, I'm in work now, why should I go on strike for them because they're losing their jobs? They didn't go on strike when we were losing our jobs. Why should I lose a day's wage when they can't be bothered to lose 20 or 30 quid out the wage packet, which I think we would work out that would keep us in business. So why should I lose a week's wage, day's wage, to support them? Why should I risk my job to support them? The look on this union rep's face was, so the interviewer turned round to him and said, "What do you have to say to this gentleman?" Union rep went, well, those were different times. And he says, yeah, but you didn't support him, so why should he and rest of the people that worked at his firm support you? So that was it. Anyway, I finished. The bloke looked right embarrassed. The next half an hour, 3/4 an hour that he was being interviewed was hell for him. Because it turned out we weren't the only firm that he'd either closed down or had to reduce staffing because they wanted the stuff cheaper. You had people ringing in who were providing gaskets, pipes and filters. And all these people, English based, used to provide them the equipment. They wanted it cheaper. They couldn't provide it cheaper, so they either lost the jobs or they had to reduce the money. I'm afraid it's the same everywhere. It's, I'm alright, Jack. Sod you type of attitude. Must admit, I probably would have thought the same. But I just thought it was a bit of a cheek for him to ask the country to go on strike, to show their support, to march, to complain to the government when they didn't even bother sticking up for their suppliers. So yeah, just wanted to do PostScript. Forgot to mention that. I thought it was just an interesting little anecdote to finish it off. Thanks again. Speak soon.